Welcome, everyone, to the Advanced Sports Analytics Podcast. It is July 7th. I'm here with Stuart Gibson. We are chatting about the PGA Tour this weekend. This is the TPC Deere Run, another low-scoring event in Illinois. Stuart, how's it going?
Yeah, going well. We're kind of on this stretch where just a lot of courses that are giving up a lot of birdies. Expect the same this week. I think over this tournament was skipped last year. I don't know that it overlapped with like the COVID pause, but it was one of the tournaments that was nixed following the restart. But like in the last five tournaments that TPC Deere Run has hosted, yeah, winning scores in like the 20 strokes under par, give or take, mostly giving. And I think we saw 2018 Michael Kim, I think it was, won with like 27 under. So ton of birdies, a weak field with a lot of high multiplier golfers. So really, there's like Daniel Berger at the top of the field, and then a bunch of mid to low tier golfers with pretty high multipliers on them. So, I think picking the right guys who might find a way to excel this weekend, even though, with stronger field, they could struggle, is going to be the key. But yeah, I think, fun week where relying on projections is super valuable. When you got all the studs in the field and all the names that everyone recognizes, I think there's ways to eye it out and kind of figure out kind of who are the top plays relative to price. But really like leaning on projections in weekends like this, where there's a lot of golfers who, I don't know a ton about or recognize even by name sometimes.
Well, before we go on, we should mention that we have 2 tickets to give away in the SuperDraft contest. Either add us on Twitter or reply to our message from Advanced Sports Analytics and mention your username, or subscribe on the ASA YouTube channel and mention your SuperDraft there. Then we'll draw from a randomizer and pick 2 people.
Yeah, no, that'll be their big long drive tournament, which is $20 entry fee, usually $1,000 or so up top. So yeah, encourage people to check those out and leave their SuperDraft name and their favorite golfer in the field this week, and we'll do that in the next couple hours.
So we usually do not bury the lead in this show. We go straight to our favorite golfers on the week. This is an unusual projection for us because we do like some of the lower multiplier guys more than we do on other weeks. But if we run through our top 5 projections, we have Hank Lebioda, Vegas, Brian Harman, Jonas Blixt, and Dylan Fratelli. Fratelli's a former winner here. Then going a little bit down the list, we have Zach Johnson, Rich Warinsky, Roger Sloan, Sepp Straka. So we do have a lot of high multiplier guys in this early group, although Harman is a near lock for us, and he's a 1.25 multiplier. Hank Lebioda is a 1.6 multiplier. Cam Davis, we like. He's ranking around 13 for us. He's a 1.3 multiplier. So Stuart, why don't you give the basics on why we tend towards these high multiplier guys on SuperDraft?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it sometimes tends to be different each week. I think for this week, I mean, there are only 6 guys under 1.2, and Eric Van Rooyen's actually withdrawn for the tournament. So like there are only 5 guys that I would even consider like low multiplier. Brian Harman at 1.25 to me, relative to kind of the options this week, to me seems like an extremely low multiplier. Yeah, I mean, I think these scoring courses that are going to give up a lot of birdies, SuperDraft, the scoring value is so heavily weighted towards hole scoring as opposed to finished position, where there are these courses that allow a lot of birdies. We just see high multiplier guys have the opportunity to just pile on points in a massive way. And even though they don't have a ton of outright win equity, because, an outright win or, a top 2 or top 3 finish just like isn't as valuable relative to other components of scoring. We do see sometimes higher multiplier guys bubble to the top. It's more common under our projections for lower multiplier golfers to bubble towards the top as the courses become more difficult, as there are fewer points available for birdies and eagles, and more of the scoring has to be generated through tournament finish. And as the field becomes stronger as well, it becomes more difficult for some of these low multiplier guys to get to high finish positions where value is elevated on tough courses. But seeing really none of that this week. In previous weeks, we've seen a lot of or the ability to expect a lot of volatility in scoring, and I think that has been the case. I mean, Cam Davis, I think, was a fairly deep winner last week, beating out guys like, heavy favorites like guys like DeChambeau. This week, I think expecting a little less volatility. What I'm looking at to kind of discern that is the coefficients for the course. So, what strokes gained traits tend to play up or down at a specific course. We've seen over the last 2 weekends at River Highlands in Connecticut and in Detroit for the Rocket Mortgage, we saw negative coefficients, meaning that the relative importance of some of these different categories is downweighted almost across the board. And when, in theory, when like no trait matters, we're kind of expecting a ton of volatility. At TPC Deere Run, we're seeing high positive coefficients for 3 of the 4 strokes gained categories, meaning that, everything is important, or not everything, but 3 out of 4. Many traits are important in projecting players' performance. And when that's the case, I think we're expecting kind of lower volatility. The value or importance of strong play in any one category has a greater impact on positive projection. So expecting that this week. The traits that are playing up are off the tee play in a really big way, nearly 2.5 standard deviations above tour average in terms of the importance of off the tee play. Putting and strokes gained around the green also important, more than a full standard deviation above tour average. Approach play, which has been the one stroke gain category that we've been able to key on for the last 2 weeks, and that led us to guys like Lebioda, who has been awesome. He's very good approach player and really succeeded last 2 weekends. Kind of downweighted this week. So I think those are kind of some things to consider. Hope that gives kind of a macro overview of why we're seeing high multiplier guys bubble to the top, as well as kind of give some context for the course this week.
Yeah, rarely do you see a coefficient like that on putting. This course, by the eye test, has been one that is sort of driver, wedge, and then putts, and sort of low scoring. The fact that you need to be driving well, that is intuitive. The approach play, I suppose there's not a lot of differentiation there, and the putting, I can't recall any course that's had this sort of putting coefficient recently. Can you?
Yeah, not really. So like it's worth noting, all this stuff's relative. Like putting is the least sticky of the strokes gained. So we're not saying that putting is more important than say around the green play. It's simply that like putting at baseline has a certain projectability for player performance around the green play has certain projectability, approach play, off the tee play, etc., have certain projectability when looking at players' past performances and projecting forward. What these coefficients are saying is that the importance of putting relative to the importance of putting at other or at the kind of tour average is elevated. So like, you hear, I think, a lot of people say, like, lean heavily on ball striking, and that almost always tends to be the case because, off the tee play is the most sticky, kind of the most consistent when looking at past performance and projecting forward. But to see the big 2.3 standard deviations on off the tee play just means that, like, even more so than usual, off the tee play should be super projectable for players' overall fantasy performance moving forward. So that kind of, I think, it hopefully explains a little bit kind of what these Z-scores mean. But yeah, no, we haven't seen a huge coefficient in putting in quite a while. Putting is naturally like a volatile component of gameplay. So like I said, doesn't mean that like players who have putt well in the past are locked in to succeed. It just means that they are more likely to, putting is likely to be more performant or projectable this week than it is in the average week or on the average course on tour.
Yeah. And this tournament is known for a lot of variance in outcome. You have had some surprising winners. And we can usually anticipate more variance in outcome for these easier courses that have lower scoring. And frequently the winner will be the person that's making the most putts between 8 and 25 feet where there's a lot of chance. And so we would expect a good bit of natural volatility at an event like this. Going to the player to win odds this week, you have Daniel Berger as 13-1. He is the favorite. He is coming off a long break, usually plays in the tougher events with tougher fields. This is sort of, I suppose, a get-right warm-up event for him. Brian Harmon is 16-1. Russell Henley, M, and Streelman are your then running out your top five. But to give a feel of how weak this field is, you have Alex Noren at 33-1, Aaron Wise at 39-1, Steve Stricker at 43-1. This is a very weak field as compared to really anything we've seen this season.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think as we discussed at the top of the show, good opportunity to lean heavily on projections. There are guys that are going to feel like uncomfortable plays because they're not elite golfers, but in the field that we have this week, we gotta make some uncomfortable picks. And, Brian Harmon feels like one of the more comfortable picks, but, taking a Jonathan Vegas, who is, I guess of late he's been consistent in making cuts, but has also been kind of consistently underwhelming on the weekend. He's 36-1. Like there are going to be some golfers that usually feel uncomfortable week to week, like Siwoo Kim, highly volatile golfer, but it's a weak field, so gonna have to make some uncomfortable picks. So we hope, leaning on the projections will help for that. Which, by the way, people can access for free for SuperDraft under the PGA dropdown, the free SuperDraft projection selection, and you guys can get access to the free SuperDraft only projections, the DraftKings and FanDuel reserved for ASA subscribers.
Now, in our typical week, we recommend that people do not play our pure optimals, and instead they sort of adjust our pure optimals, which often include a lot of high multiplier players, and try to sort of fine tune in a way where you're also considering maximizing the probability that your 6 golfers get through to the weekend. Especially on a course like this, it's going to be very important for the winner to have all 6 golfers in play over the weekend. If you take a look at our current optimal, which would be Harmon, Vegas, Zach Johnson, Lebioda, Fratelli, and Wawrinski, it's coming in at a lower average multiplier than usual. It's an average multiplier of 8.65 because you do have some lower multiplier guys in there like Harmon and Zach Johnson. So my question is this a week where you're willing to just play our optimizer purely?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like guys like Harmon, Vegas, Johnson, like these are guys that have on a normal week where the field is littered with 1 to 1.2x guys, that might feel uncomfortable, like locking in like a 1-2-5 and then 2 1-3-5s as your kind of your safe plays. But like there just are no aside from Berger and maybe like Sung J M, there are no super safe guys, and to me these guys feel quite safe. Where 1.35 is like kind of your high risk zone, just given the multiplier structure this week. 1.25 to 1.35 is actually kind of looking like what I would call low multiplier relative to kind of where the field is. Lebioda, Fratelli, and Wawrinski are kind of the dart throws, so to speak. But like Lebioda's been rock solid. Like you said, Fratelli has had success here, and I believe been a winner here. Wawrinski has been strong as of late. So like, to me, this, even though it's got a lot of names that aren't at the top of the FedEx Cup rankings, I think looks like a pretty safe safe floor lineup. So I think it is a week where maybe I'd be okay with rolling with the optimal. Just scanning through kind of cumulative multipliers, it's looking like it's kind of in the middle. I'm seeing some 8.7 cumulative, seeing some 8.45, 8.45, 8.5, seeing a big 8.8. So like this, where you're pretty much subbing out Harmon for Straka, would be like, I do think Harmon's, like, to me, seems like a really safe, low, relatively low multiplier guy to anchor around. But this one with like Straka in place of Harmon looks like it could be kind of a higher upside, higher risk type lineup. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good just looking at the optimal. To me, Harmon, Vegas, and Johnson all feel really safe. And the last 3, there's some risk, but like Lebioda, we've been really high on for the past couple of weeks. And even though it's not the greatest course fit, his recent form has been really strong, and this feels like a tournament he could also have success at.
So the argument against having too many 1.6-ish golfers in your lineup on a normal week is that it does limit your ability to have 6 of 6 through to the weekend. Big difference this week because they're up against a much weaker field. This field is depleted of the top golfers in the world, so it is more likely that the high multiplier guys all get through. That said, when you're looking at our projections, which strategy would you rather? Would you rather say take our best lineup and swap out one guy for the elite golfers in the field like a Berger or an M, or would you rather instead take one of the high multiplier guys that might be projecting well on all sites like a Lebioda and swap him for a high multiplier guy that figures to be less popular?
Yeah, I think I would probably want to skew high multiplier. Like, the way I see it, these, we'll just take like Berger and M, for example, who are at pretty much the multiplier floor. Villegas at 1.1x at 200 to 1 to win. That seems I don't know. That seems like a little bit of a bug. But for like, let's say M and Berger to win at essentially 1x. I know Berger's 1.05. Like, they would just have to because the SuperDraft scoring is so skewed towards hole scoring. not only would they have to win outright, but they would have to outshoot the rest of the field by a pretty significant margin. You take last week where there's a 3-player playoff, and those guys ultimately settle in kind of position 1, 2, 3, but they get the same whole scoring bonus. It doesn't really matter who goes 1, 2, 3. It's whoever just has the highest multiplier of those 3, because the delta between first and second is only 2 points. The delta between second and third is only 2 points. The difference between first and third is only 4 fantasy points. These guys have to win outright, and they have to win big. I do think the case for these low multiplier guys is that if everyone is taking shots on high multiplier guys, and you're kind of just like counting for a 1 or 1.05x to be a lineup winner, you kind of just are counting on like everyone taking shots on their high multiplier guys, and just no one able to really like put the right pieces together, or kind of get the right mix of medium to high multiplier guys. And we had like Osimo on our show way back when, and I think he made a salient point about like Giannis, in that he's a good player, but really his best route to being a tournament winning player is not in him putting up a massive game, but just him putting up his usual good production, and kind of everyone else just missing on the low multiplier guys. And he said, look, I'd rather kind of want to draft guys that I want in order to win, not draft guys that I think win if everyone else kind of misses the high multiplier shots. But that was a good point. I do think, though, there have been like Blender is big on putting together lineups maybe that can win when the chalk fails, or when the players that people are high on fail. But I don't know. I think with the multiplier scoring system, my preference would be to try to roster guys that give me a chance to win, not roster guys that prevent me from losing, kind of thing. And to me, like and Berger feel like guys that give you a good chance of kind of not losing or getting 6 of 6 through, but don't have like a really very, very high upside that would give you access to a tournament winning score.
Yeah, I'm with you. So before we end, do you have some favorites that you might, some contrarian high multiplier plays that you might want to squeeze in tournament lineups?
Yeah, I don't know that Lebioda will be super contrarian. He's been great, and his ownership has kind of been creeping up. Vegas I like. Not sure that he'll be contrarian. Fratelli I think is interesting, although he's not the greatest course fit. He's just had good history here, and he just had really one good performance. He won last year. Typically, he hasn't been the greatest putter. Harmon, I don't really see as high multiplier. Sloan looks potentially solid with his good off the tee play. I don't see him as being super high owned or super kind of chalky play. I think he could be contrarian, although the multiplier is not super high. Stricker, I think, is an interesting guy. He has had a couple wins at TPC Deere Run. He's not an exceptional putter, but he's not terrible, above average and off the tee play. Really, the biggest flaw in his game is his approach play, but we do think that might go undervalued this week. And I don't know, he's just kind of seen as like an old fart. And I know for like NFL, people tend to age bias towards younger, more flashy players, and like I could see Stricker getting overlooked, but he certainly has had success here at the John Deere. So that might be one deeper play that I might look at.
Sounds good. Well, best of luck to everyone this weekend. Stuart, have a good one. I will see you probably on Friday.
Yep. Take care, guys.